Hey guys, Blessing here. The clip you're watching now depicts a real-life Juju scene that took place in southern Nigeria, Edostate to be precise. The men and women you see here, clad in red regalia, are voodoo priests and traditional functionaries. Their purpose of gathering and chanting incantations is to cast a spell on 3 social media presenters who they have labeled Oginoba, which translates to enemy of the palace. Now, to give you some insight into this story, I recently made a video in which I announced that the palace had summoned 3 social media presenters to report themselves after they accused an influential Benin man who goes by the name Dumes Edos of having allegedly committed adultery with a married woman. If you want to watch that video, you'll find a link in the description box down below, and here is where my analysis begins. A palace chief contacted both Lolo and Mama Gladys by phone on the 21st of April and informed them that they had to appear at the palace on the 10th of May, which is a notice of just 19 days, less than 3 weeks, knowing fully well that these people live abroad. In my opinion, if you have to summon anyone living abroad, you should give them nothing less than 3 to 6 months notice unless you're paying for their trip. I mean, you can't just expect people to abandon their entire life, their job, their kids, business, appointments, and other activities to attend your call, especially in this corona time, because people need money to travel and people living in diaspora don't pluck money on trees. You don't expect someone with a family to be able to book a ticket to Nigeria within 3 weeks, which will cost nothing less than 1,000 euros, and pay over 100 euros for corona test, apply for a visa, arrange a nanny for their kids. All these things need to be put in place. So 3 weeks is just a ridiculous amount of time to give people. Another thing that caught my attention was that there was no official invitation letter sent out to these presenters to authenticate the call made by that chief. I mean, anyone can pick the phone and claim they are acting on behalf of the king of Benin Kingdom. But how are we sure this is not a setup? And do we even know the name of that chief? And that is also why I feel like that chief needs to be investigated. He needs to come forward and tell the world who sent him, because based on the information I have, the Great Palace of Edostate has a secretary who goes by the name Frank Irabo. So any legitimate invitation from the palace should have been signed and sent out by Mr. Irabo, just like this one right here. Another reason the supposed summon by the palace is highly suspicious is that this entire week there is the Ugie Ododua ceremony taking place at the palace, which is a large event that is open to members of the general public. So it is highly unlikely that the palace will summon people from abroad to present themselves on a date that coincides with a very special festival like this in the name of settling a private matter that involves Papa Waila. This seems quite illogical, and that is the same point Pahithro tried to call people's attention to, but instead of them to see the sense in what he was saying, they almost devoured that man. Now, in my previous video about Lolo soliciting for funds to travel to Nigeria, I asked the viewers to comment and let us know if it is a must for someone to attend the summon in person. Most people commented that it is not a must and that the person summoned can send a relative to represent them. This sounds like good news, so one of the social media presenters that was summoned sent a representative to the palace, and this is what happened to him. Dear Edo people, is this also part of Benin tradition? If you guys are wondering what gives you guys a bad image and brings shame to your kingdom, here is a perfect example of why Edostate is perceived in a negative light by outsiders. Look at the son of the soil, your own brother and son. He goes to the palace, which is supposed to be the home of every Edo citizen, and this is how he's treated? Shame. Shame on not only the people that laid hands on that man, but also to each and every one of you on social media who applauded this act and found it funny. I don't want to ask again if the Oba of Benin condones this kind of behavior, because I'm almost certain that he does not and will not support this. You guys, when this video goes out to the public, it will tarnish the image of the palace further. So in essence, these people are assaulting this man, and those of you cheering them on and writing comments on social media that they did the right thing, you are the real enemies of the palace, because you're bringing shame and embarrassment upon your king. I've also seen some people say that the man deserved what he got because he allegedly lied that he was related to Eddie Murphy who sent him, whereas he is allegedly just a friend, which disqualifies him to be a representative at a summon. Here is what I have to say to that. Even if that man lied to be who he's not, that doesn't still warrant him to be assaulted in this manner. This is the palace we're talking about here. Like, are you guys in a jungle? The Oba is much more civil than many of you barbarians, but you keep embarrassing him in the eyes of the international community. Only thugs and miscreants beat up people who are seeking peace. I'm honestly telling you how we outsiders perceive this whole thing, because in our eyes, the three presenters are fighting against social indecence, and I want to refer to a comment that I got from Holly Moss a while ago. Now, Holly Moss is a top fan of Monica Ambrose, and he or she explained in that comment that Monica didn't bring no Edo people down, and that all Monica was doing was expose the ill things some Edo people were doing, like some Edo women married and still having side lovers. So I made a video about that statement, and I agreed with Holly Moss that exposing the evil in society is not bringing Edo people down, and I stick to my standpoint that these presenters trying to expose adultery, if it truly happened, are not bringing Edo people down, but rather the corrupt people trying to intimidate them into silence are the ones bringing Edo people down. So if you guys want to uphold the positive image of the palace, then you need to learn how to openly condemn sacrilegious acts like this. Put aside your hatred and sentiments and let your spirit be anger when you see evil and injustice. Otherwise, one day it's going to be your turn, and you might also not find anyone to speak up and fight for you. Stop using your comments to turn the palace into a place of terror and fear. Now, moving on to Mama Gladys. After she was summoned, Mama Gladys made a special video appealing to the palace that she would not be able to attend because she's currently not in possession of her international passport. Now, for the people that have sense watching this video, I'm sure you'd agree with me that that is a credible reason. The woman didn't come out to call the bluff of the palace. She wasn't rebellious in saying, "I'm not coming because I don't care." No, she was literally pleading that she would not be able to attend due to circumstances beyond her control, which any reasonable person should be able to understand. Mama Gladys also allegedly sent someone to the palace about 4 days before the date of the summon, but the person was allegedly told that the palace was not aware of any of such appointment. So if this is true, who sent that chief to make that phone call? Let's move on to Lolo. Lolo made us all believe she was indeed going to Nigeria, and she even did a live video when she was supposedly packing her luggage. Now, Lolo told the public that she would arrive Nigeria on Sunday the 9th of May so that she could meet up with the palace appointment on Monday the 10th. So before Lolo's flight even supposedly landed on the 9th of May, a pre-recorded video had already been leaked online showing Juju men laying curses on Lolo, Eddie Murphy and Mama Gladys. You guys, if you don't think this is injustice, if this doesn't anger your spirit, then just take it from me that you are an evildoer. And of course, the evil that men do lives with them. But let's break it down piece by piece so that everyone can understand exactly why this is evil. You mandated 3 people to appear at the palace on the 10th of May. What then gives you the audacity to go out and start cursing them on the 9th of May? In fact, that video might even have been recorded way before the 9th of May. So all these grown-up men and women gathered here to curse social media presenters who air their opinion in the guise of cursing them because they didn't attend the summon, when the date of the actual summon hadn't even reached, meaning these people swearing did not honor their own mandate either, so they might end up also partaking in their own curse because the agreed appointment was a day later. The question is, why were they in such a hurry to go out and lay curses? Like, why couldn't they just wait a few more hours until the D-Day before taking action? If they were not simply doing Papa Waila a favor, then why didn't they give these presenters a few more days grace? Why didn't they swear about the alleged adultery that caused this whole chaos in the first place instead of simply swearing for the people because they couldn't attend? And Lala also explained that when that chief called her, he promised that he was going to call her back to give her practical details about the summon, but the chief didn't keep to his promise, so he never called her back. How on earth do you expect someone to honor a summon invitation when you don't give them explicit details of where they have to be, what time they have to be there, who to ask for, and so on? Retrospectively, one could say that it was maybe a good thing that Lola didn't even attend. Because imagine a scenario whereby Lola lands in Nigeria and then she hears that, "Madam, we don't swear for una finish you." Can you imagine? That would have been a waste of her time, a waste of her money, and a waste of her intelligence, which she actually put to good use here. And Mama Gladys also said that she called the chief back to get information from him, but that the chief hung up the phone on her. So that chief that made those calls is not a very good messenger, and it looks like their original agenda was actually to lay curses on these people and not to settle any conflict. So they just used their own attendance as an excuse to fulfill their unjust plan. So now it's time for me to outline my conclusion of the series of events that have happened in the last few days. Number 1, this theatrical show put up by these men and women is nothing but a public display of shame, because from all indications, they did what Papa Waila ordered them to do, and consequently, they have absolutely no right to label the presenters Ogioba, because the presenters are not against the Oba, but against Dumesedos, and last time I checked, Dumesedos is not the Oba of Benin. Number 2, let's assume or even pretend they acted on behalf of the Oba. Why didn't they listen and hear the presenter side of the story? The only person they listened to was Dumesedo, and based on what he told them, they went ahead and laid curses on other people's children because Dumesedo is the one paying the money. Number 3, this is a very fruitless act by Papa Waila because he did not achieve anything with this show. He didn't even succeed in clearing his name in this adultery mess. In fact, he has raised more suspicion because a lot of people are now saying that he did what he did in order to put fear in the presenters and silence them. But that also failed because Papa Waila just awakened a new breed of presenters who are ready to fight the good fight against injustice, indiscipline, and corruption. Papa Waila, this is no longer the social media era of 5 years ago. This was your opportunity to be vindicated by swearing in front of the world that you didn't do what you've been accused of doing. Rather, you made these Juju men swear because people couldn't attend. Like, is that the reason you gathered this battalion of Juju priests without being able to clear your own name about the matter on ground? My brother, it's not all about gathering numerous Juju people together. In fact, if you have your money in Nigeria, you can even assemble 10,000 Juju people in one place. So that doesn't mean you're innocent. It just means you have money to waste. And for those people celebrating what Papa Waila did, what exactly are you guys celebrating and dancing for? Because I don't see any victory here. The only thing that I see happen here is that Juju men performed the duty for which they were paid. So are you now celebrating that Papa Waila was able to pay? Because like I said before, the curses on these 3 presenters does not prove Papa Waila's innocence. Rather, it just raised more dust. So I ask again, what exactly are you guys celebrating? I don't even understand how anyone would be celebrating Ojoro and foul play. By the way, I see one of the Juju men here wearing Ishiagu, which is a traditional Igbo fabric, and is also wearing an Ichie cap. And that got me a bit confused. Well, anyway, it's one Nigeria, so it's nice to see our Igbo culture being promoted in Edostate. Moving on to point number 4. What Papa Waila and his Juju men did goes against everything the palace stands for, which is uniting all Edos together.
With the singular objective of strengthening our common bond as a united people with one ancestry, we shall continue to pray for peace in our land and prosperity for our people.
On the contrary, Papa Waila and his Juju men have only succeeded in increasing the intensity of the ongoing conflict and encouraged segregation and division among people who are supposed to be brothers and sisters. Papa Waila went and complained to his Juju men about what presenters might be doing to him online. Are these Juju men not supposed to find a resolution and a method to restore peace? But no, Papa Waila told them, I won't make una go swear Juju for them. And the Juju men couldn't even apply their own wisdom, but just because of the food they will eat. They wore all their best costumes and Ishiagu and Ichie cap and went out to be swearing for sons and daughters of the soil. If you finish swearing for all your children in the diaspora, who is going to build your land? Papa Waila, how much did you pay these people? Because I'm almost sure that if you were just a regular guy or a civil servant with not too much money to throw around, these Juju men would not carry this matter on their head like this, eh? Otherwise, why are they not investing the same energy in laying curses on cultists, murderers, rapists, and so on? They are instead running after Papa Waila's adultery accusation because Madam won't go put ego for their account. Just another case of black people with misplaced priorities. Number 5. How come the palace is not easily accessible to you Edo people? How come people are openly committing atrocities in the name of the Oba and you guys have still not been able to bring it to the Oba's attention? Number 6. I noticed that some manipulative people on social media try to justify the curses, saying that the appointment was not on the 10th of May, but that the presenters were told to come before the 10th of May. So let's listen to what the chief said when he called Lolo. For those of you who do understand Benin language, please, did the chief say on the 10th or before the 10th? And even if the chief had said before the 10th, it is still outright evil to start swearing for people before 12 a.m. that night, because the day actually has to come to an end first before you can conclude that people are not coming. But that before the 10th has not even come to an end. Or those of you who want to defend your before the 10th argument, do I still need to explain to you what the word before means? Whenever you see evil being meted out to someone, no matter how much you hate that person, at least try your best to stand on the side of truth, or don't just say anything at all, because your argument really makes you look foolish. Lastly, this battle has now transitioned from Monica against Lolo and has now become a fight between good and evil, a battle between justice and injustice against oppression and intimidation, because right now, I see people who initially didn't like Lolo navigating towards her. I guess Papa Waila didn't imagine this whole thing would turn around against him and go in favor of Lolo, Mama Gladys and Eddie Murphy. And I know some of you don't like outsiders analyzing your issues, but the reason we are actually doing what we're doing is because you guys are giving us material to work with. If you guys would start behaving well and start condemning evil when you see it, we would have nothing to analyze about you. So to everyone out there is so much to be learned from all of this, and if the story has really opened your eyes, go ahead and drop me a comment below and also share your thoughts. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, but if you get to watch it on Facebook, do not hesitate to like and follow my page, and I will catch you on my next one.